Adam,
Phil.
we are talking about PIARO, participate in a rescue operation. So people watching this video will soon be taking part in a 1 day, 1.5 day package, learning how to be part of a team involved in rescue. Could be anything, couldn't it?
Yeah, well, rescue, there's so many different types of scenarios that rescue can be involved in. So the course participate in a rescue operation is quite broad, but hopefully we can tailor it to specifically whatever the course is, whether it be heavily focused on ropes or more mechanics.
So we'll be possibly your instructors on the course. So we come from two different businesses really. So we've sort of grew up together as kids and we sort of still hang out a little bit. So your world's rescue med services. So This course could be delivered either through you or my little business, which is called Search and Rescue Services. So who are we and what have we got to offer?
Well, as you said, we come from, we are, I guess you could say we are competitors in the business world, but at the same time we're friends. So we draw on each other, which is fine. So regardless whether it's Search and Rescue Services or Rescue Med Services, you're getting exactly that. Two people that know and are part of with experienced rescue. For instance, I began way back in 1996 with SES, gaining SRB accreditation in 97 when I was 17. That was through SES, so road crash, vertical rescue, etc. And then, yes, I joined ambulance service where I concurrently stayed in SES and then even VRA and then ambulance rescue. So my whole life since 96, 97 has been a part of a state service, so to speak, whether it be voluntary or professional. And again, through ambulance service, become a paramedic. So Rescue Med plays on the rescue and the medical side. And I'm still current and I still engage in rescue as well. And Phil as well, his career in life has been through emergency services and he's wore more hats than me.
Yeah, so I've got started off with SES in 97, 98 and joined the police, done that for about 20 years, finishing up with the police in police rescue, 10 years in VRA, bit of stint in the Fire and Rescue New South Wales as retained, and RFS as well. So I've put on a few hats. I've seen a few different organisations. So together we can really impact your training on specific to your agency because we've seen it all.
Yeah, and again, it all comes back to the State Rescue Board in this space. So there is no stone left unturned in terms of experience or what environments you can be into. So collectively, we can ensure that we cover all those bases.
And the prerequisite for this is provide first aid. So it's a HLT AID 011, provide first aid. You need that one as a prerequisite.
Yeah, to lead into a rescue operation. You can't not be a part of a rescue and then not be able to implement anything to do with rescue if you don't fundamentally have patient care as a focal point. So first aid's basic.
And the PIARO, participate in a rescue operation, is basically the core foundation of your entry level into an emergency service, isn't it?
Yeah, that's right. So you can't be... You participate in a rescue operation, you can be on the sidelines, you can do things, you can set it up, and you can start to observe and learn by observation what goes on. So participate in a rescue operation will lead into any other rescue operation, whether it be undertake road crash rescue or undertake vertical rescue, confined space rescue, except anything that's more specific in rescue has to have the participate in a rescue operation element to establish the fundamental basics, which would then each of those unit of competencies or training course will be you can drill down into with a fundamental knowledge.
And by the books, this is a 7-hour course. So depending on what the agency wants of your members, we can do it in 7 hours. And sometimes agency might take 2 days or 7 days. So it depends on what they want to do. So.
Yeah, it's bulked out more by scenarios. I mean, yeah, like I said, a course might have to be, how many rescue scenarios can you be in? What is the, what is the operation? So there may be elements. So depending on how specific or widespread the agency is, could depend on, well, we have so many rescue operations to be a part of. What do we need to teach them as a foundation for each of them? But generally it can come down to roping. I mean, knots and anchors is the basis for all things. But of course, then you've got to transition across to the more mechanical side. So surely there has to be an element that we can factor into that's more nuts and bolts. But definitely roping plays a basis in so many different rescue operations. So knot tying, etc., has to be fundamental, as well as pumps, generators, stabilization world comes into the more nuts and bolts and the mechanical side of things, regardless of sort of that operation.
So the stuff we're going to teach you on your course will be fairly broad. So whatever we teach you here, you'll have to go back to your agency and find out what their policies, procedures are and abide by those. What about preparing? So let's say you are a paramedic and your job is to go and be prepared for a motor vehicle event. You're doing a speedway. What would you, as a paramedic, prepare for?
Well, it comes down to anything like that. So fundamentally, you're going to have a medical kit, whether it be first aid or paramedic. So to prepare for, you've got to do stock check and equipments and expiry dates on your equipment. So it's a case of knowing what fundamentally you're going to prepare with. But it just doesn't come down to the equipment. It comes down to you as well. Are you prepared? What's your current, if you did a self-assessment, what is that like to you? If you had to come along and go, well, am I fatigued? Am I not? Did I have a big night? Etc. So it comes down to not only the equipment, but it also comes down to you. So you've got to have self-assessment techniques in there. But of course, all things to do in anything to do with medical, first aid kit, equipment, check it. Make sure there's enough oxygen. Should you deal with oxygen? Do you have the right masks? And the equipment that's specified. No matter what it is, fire extinguishers will play a part. So you've got to make sure that fire extinguishers are charged and in the green. So from a paramedical perspective, is it the right PPE? Do you have everything to make you safe, the patient safe, and those around you safe? So it's definitely gear checks and equipment. But that can be the same for anything. Vertical.
Let's go on to vertical. So if I've got a vertical preparing for that, I'm going to deck my harness out ready to go. So I've just got to slide it on, and I know all my gear is on here. It's ready to rock and roll. So that's how I would prepare for a vertical.
Yes.
What about what would be one other one for you? Swiftwater rescue? You don't like water, do you?
No, don't like water at all. I will not be putting my toe in water. I will stand on the side and throw something. But if that was me, I'd make sure my throw bag's ready to go and my floaties.
Road crash.
Road crash. Well, that means more equipment. To be prepared for a road crash rescue, there's more things to check. So you got to make sure that your generators are full if you're still running it. A lot of people do. Batteries are charged. Glass management kits, are they ready to go? There's nothing worse than taking out an equipment at a vehicle at a road crash, and going, well, I need to do something with the battery and they're flat. So every time in my ambulance rescue days, we would turn up to a rescue shift and everything would be started and turned on. Everything would be run. Everything would be checked. Batteries have to be checked. Spares. Do you have enough blades and equipment to set up like that? Does the lighting on your vehicle work, even if it was at daytime? Because you don't want to wait until you need it. People go, why are you checking your lights at daytime? Well, if it wasn't fixed or checked at that point in time and you wait for a night shift to come on, you don't want them to find out there's no lights.
Business is shut, you can't get it fixed.
So the more specific that it is what you need to check. So if it was a heavy roping industry, you may have checks to do on your ropes, like how do you know when it's come out? What about roping logs? We should explore that. So it comes down to areas like that. Confined space rescue world, breathing apparatus. You've got to test the air that's in the tanks. Yeah. And there's so many expiry dates and test dates on things you need to make sure update. Not to mention check any defect logs as well.
We've now learned how to prepare for a job. What about responding? A job comes into you over the phone and you're starting to roll out the door with your truck. The first thing for me, I want to get as much info as I can, intelligence.
Yeah, so you can use whatever it is possible, whether it be someone at the scene or through radio network or whatever. How can you get more information to paint a bigger picture? You generally just get an overview of it, but how do you start drilling down? You want to know more information. So you can make phone calls, or I would contact, it depends on whether it's a triple O or an emergency service of some type. By all means, you want to ask whoever's on the other end of the radio more information which they need to ascertain. If it's not, you need to make phone calls. If it's more private in nature, well, who rang it in? Who can you ring? Is there any provided phone number on any log that you have to actually ask them more questions about it? But of course, when you're responding, we're not going to go in about, driving a vehicle and what you're looking out for, etc. like that. I'm not going to cover all of that. But what's very important is when you get there, when you look through the windscreen, you start to get a picture painted. So when you're responding to an incident, it's very important to get as more information as you can about the incident, as well as who else is going with me, who else in a voluntary space is arriving. You should know who your people are that has the capability to assist you in that specific rescue, so you can be more reassured by, who are the people that's coming, who are the brain cells that are arriving to help, and who's that going to be, as well as, okay, where do I fit in within the team? Who in the team is coming that has their strengths and weaknesses, and where can we best apply it? With the more people you can get a first responder over a scene.
So you'd start actually communicating to your team once you're in the truck, you're driving there, you're doing your windscreen check. You can start allocating jobs to your team members then and there. And that might change, obviously, as we roll along. But initially, yeah.
Yeah, so when you get there, you already know what's more efficient based on the intelligence that you're gaining. What's more happening at the scene? Who's coming? So you can straight away go, well, we've got Sarah that's already going to be on scene. Sarah's really good at the back-end system. So, Phil, I might have you go as a first responder. When we get there, Sarah's going to start setting up the frames or whatever like that. So you can go on the fly, but it's a case of get more intelligence about the job itself, gain more intelligence as to who's going to be there on the scene, and start to paint a picture so when the door opens at the job, you can be more efficient in what you're doing. So yeah, when you pull up through the windscreen, you can get it all started to get sorted out.
Yeah, so for me, the priority is, let's say we go into a road crash, the first priority should be the victim in the car. How many victims have you got, and who's the more serious one? So you'd start managing the victim first, and then making the scene safe at the same time. So you can allocate your crew for that.
Although we talked about the more of a roping thing from a road crash, the windscreen's still the same. You can still know who's going to be there, who's going to be waiting for us at scene, and who's in the vehicle. So as soon as you get there and you look through the window, I'll start working out, is there anyone still in the vehicle? Oh, it looks like everybody's out of that vehicle, but there's still two in there. You don't know whether they're trapped or whether they're just sitting in there because it's convenient. So you can start to get your people allocated to go to certain vehicles. So we've got 2 cars. We're going to send Gary and Wilma. They're going to go, when we get there, can you make sure the first vehicle's safe? And then the other vehicle as well. So it's a lot of, regardless of what rescue you're going to, get more information about what's happening there, plus who's going to be your human resources, and particularly if you're a team leader, think about strengths and weaknesses and where to best put people.
In respond stage, the responding to the incident, you're going to be dealing with other agencies. So with the background of you and I could probably give you a bit of information, for example, of when you're dealing with the police on scene. Generally, police are the oversight of the whole operation on all rescue, but they're not really skilled or qualified in the stuff you are as a rescuer. So you're going to be liaising with the police. And I suppose the big thing the police would want to do is look after the victim, keep the scene safe, get it done as quick as you can, as safe as you can, and minimise the impact to the crime scene. If it's going to be a crime scene, manage that. What about as a paramedic? What would you be dealing with the rescue agencies? What would you want?
Well, when we would arrive as paramedics, of course, we're patient-focused, but the expectation of us is that it's a safe scene. We know there's going to be other eyes and ears, even though we make it safe for ourselves by all means. We know continually that there'll be other people that should be looking after the safety of the scene and risks as well as that, particularly I'm speaking about New South Wales. That's what I'm most aware of course. So from a paramedic perspective, when we were there, we would be dealing directly with patient care. Now, yes, in New South Wales, police are ultimately in charge of any rescue or incident, unless it involves a fire. If there's a fire, of course, the fireys take over command and control of the incident. They become in charge. But I've never found police to be obstructive at all. I've never found it to be problematic at all. So, but from a rescue perspective, and even from a medical perspective, if, for instance, I wanted to get a landing site sorted out, or you'd go to the police and go, we need a landing site sorted out. Yeah, it's up to them to delegate them or somebody else to find that. So from a rescue perspective, if you, for instance, went, well, we need more rescue resources here, yeah, in that instance, you would go to the police and go, can you please contact another we need another rescue vehicle or rescue agency here to assist us. So, Phil, one of the roles of a PIARO person can do when you, a PIARO, participate in a rescue operation. So I guess you could look at it like, You're going to have a hot zone person that's a person that probably should hold a unit of competence relevant to the actual hot zone activities, whatever that is, confined space rescue, road crash, vertical rescue.
Yeah.
Then you have people in the warm zone, the orange zone, and that's probably a good place for a pyro person to be in.
Yeah.
So I guess when you look at a risk assessment side of it, what would be something that you would like a pyro person in a hot zone to be more attentive to?
Yeah, as you said, we've got the zones. So green zone, you're going to have your media public out there, out of the way of everything. Orange zone is the people that are, pyro qualified.
Yes, because they're participating in a rescue operation.
Can they go into the red zone? I'd say yes. I'd say they're able to go into the red zone, but not actually perform the technical aspect of the rescue. That's for the qualified people who are qualified in that. So moving forward, coming back out of the orange, moving forward into the red, coming back into the orange.
Yeah, so someone in the red zone in a road crash might say, oh, can you grab me the spreader? Can you swap this out? The person that holds the unit of competency might be holding the tool, but you might be supporting. You're participating by assisting them, where they're probably undertaking the technical functions. But from a risk assessment perspective, a pyro person who participates in the rescue operation could check the car stabilisation, making sure everything's stable, because that's a pyro function. If there was any risk to mitigate, whether it be a sharp edge, they could apply whatever to a sharp. So once something's cut, sure, you don't need a participate in a rescue operation. I'm going to protect that. You're mitigating risk. So yeah, there's a whole lot of risk assessment to be undertaken. Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. And their role is the eyes and ears of the whole operations, because you're going to get qualified in dealing with hazards and risks and mitigating them. So if you spot something, tell the team leader and say, hey boss, I see that over there.
Yeah, so the role of pyro, there's a lot of strength in it. And you can learn a lot by observation. Even if you're not in the hot zone, you get the idea. You're playing with more equipment and tools, and you're learning from the operators as to what you can do if you're ever in the hot zone as a qualified person. So in terms of like performing the rescue, so an element is performing the rescue. So whilst your role, when the rescue is getting performed, you can support that, participate in that. You may not be the captain of the ship, but you may be actually in there to perform. When the rescue is getting performed, you have a support role in that nature, which is definitely listening and learning. But anything safety, it's fair to say that these people should be mitigating risk, eliminating it, mitigating it, minimising it. Yeah. It's certainly an important role. And from my paramedic days, they're the people that I find very important. If I'm in the vehicle focusing, I'm not seeing what's going around. So risk assessment, initial and ongoing, is very important.
Yeah, so they do have some sort of contributing factor within performing the rescue.
Well, from a road crash, they're the tool dump people. They're the ones that can set gear up. They're fundamental.
Starting generators.
They're the ones that, exactly right, checking all the batteries. When they get gear out, whether it be roping or whatever, they should know what the rescue operation is, and they're participating in it. They may not be able to be in the hot zone, so to speak, directly involved with the rescue, but they should understand the rescue in order to participate in it. It's fair to say that a pyro person at a rescue is probably a bit like an apprentice. They might be the ones to clean up, pack up and sort it all out, because the operators are probably sweating. And do you feel like a bit of an apprentice when it comes to concluding the rescue?
That's how apprentices learn. They learn by being there on the scene. They're actually able to get within metres of someone bleeding in a car, where the general public can't. So it's definitely a great learning experience.
Yeah, so packing up. So to conclude, regardless of it, things need to be packed up and put away.
Job's done.
Job is done. So yeah, the apprentice might be left with the cleanup, and there's nothing wrong with that, and it probably does make sense, because if you're a pyro person, that's a prerequisite. It's pretty good. This is a good time to drill down in whatever the core rescue, whatever the operation is, whatever it is they're playing with, your dexterity and your learning from it as well. Okay, so the operators may hand it on to you. It may seem a bit, tradie versus apprentice, but it's actually a valuable role. But then again, if we do move on to be the rescue operator, don't become complacent. So you still do have to play a role. But I guess in concluding a rescue operation, it's a case of you may have to decontaminate stuff, wash stuff, sort stuff, fuel stuff, check levels of stuff. Yeah, if it's roping, when you're cleaning up from ropes, you want to make sure that there's no defects or issues put into the rope when you're bagging it up, yeah?
Absolutely. What about the debrief? How important is that?
Well, it's something that has been neglected over years to do with it. So let's just straight away start thinking about the post-traumatic stress world, PTSD. So it's very important, and I'm so glad that in this day and age it's been taken more and more serious. So debriefing has got twofold. Your mental health to do with whatever the scene is that you've just seen, whether it be gruesome or not. But the other side of it is
learning
systems and processes. Wouldn't you agree?
Absolutely. Learning from your mistakes and making things better for next time.
Yes, that's right. And not to take it personal. Yeah, it's easier said than done.
It is easy, yeah. Well, I think that's about it, mate. Are you happy with that?
Yeah.
I hope you're looking forward to your course. What type of person would or should be involved in rescue? Who are they?
Well, the people do come from all walks of life, which is great. And it's the people that generally have a dedication or a desire to help those other people, to help people in need. So they do want to come along, and they have all the good intentions and desires. With that as well, we often find that there might be an element of fitness or risks that come into it, but everyone has this great desire to help. But in reality, you need people who are emotionally strong. And I'm not going to say too much about physically strong, because I've found in my time that everyone brings their strengths and weaknesses to it. So the person's got to be, I guess, fit for task is probably I believe in the term. For instance, people think, for instance, in rescue, you need to be big and strong. But equally, you need a small person to get through a small hole, gaining access into domestic properties. I can tell you that how many more times a valued person's been the tiny one. It doesn't just have to be physically and strong. So fit for task is within the team, everyone has an element. So
there's a job for everyone.
There is a job for everybody, absolutely. Again, even the people who may not be aerobically fit, they may have a very good strength of being able to put together back end of systems that require no aerobic fitness. So the idea, you have this ideal rescuer, but then you have the reality, and it's making sure that you've got this emotional, strong person as well to start with. So, for instance, if you don't like the sight of blood, that's probably not the place for you, okay? So, but emotionally strong or be able to be resilient, as well as a physical element that can be adaptive.
Thank you, Adam.
Thank you, Phil.
I hope these guys enjoy the course. Either Adam or myself, Phil, will be your instructors for this. So
or both.
We'll see. Yeah, more than likely both. We like to hang out with each other.
Yeah.
Yes, I hope you enjoyed watching Adam and I having a bit of a chat with you there. This is Adam and I running some local road crash rescue and some vertical rescue courses. There's generally no need to watch too much more than what you have already of us talking to you. However, just a few highlights here to see what you may be involved in future in your career, in your emergency services, whether it be New South Wales State Emergency Service or the Volunteer Rescue Association, VRA, or any other agency involved. So these guys are just members of the public, volunteering their own times, as you guys possibly are who's attending this course. So we really appreciate your effort and what you contribute to society, helping out the community. This is some of the stuff you'll be doing after you've completed PIARO and you decide to go and attend a road crash rescue course or a swiftwater rescue course or a vertical rescue course or anything like that. So we're able to cater your needs depending on what your agency wants you to do. So whether it be focused on road crash or vertical or confined space or swiftwater, anything at all, we can cater. So we're just going to leave you to sit back and relax and just watch some of the highlights here. I'm going to finish talking, so you'll be just seeing the video with no sounds. Looking forward to seeing you on the course, and take care.